Eve hits him with her car, so I mean that would give anyone negative feelings. Hi friends, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another monthly wrap-up. I'm finally back on track and I'm doing my all the books I've read in July, and I'm so happy that I'm getting this up on time because I have been so behind on wrap-ups and hauls and everything between the move and the job hunting, and it just feels so good to finally get back on track. In July, I read a lot less books than I typically do, or have been, I should say, throughout the year of 2021. However, I still read quite a few books. So without further ado, let's jump on into it. First, I read King of Scars, which was a reread for me in anticipation for Rule of Wolves. I'm hoping to pick up Rule of Wolves here in August. If you don't know, King of Scars is a companion series to the Grishaverse, which is the Shadow and Bone trilogy, and then the Six of Crows duology, and then the King of Scars duology. I love Nikolai and Nina, who are features in this book, so I adore this book and cannot wait to pick up Rule of Wolves. Next, I read the final 3 books of the An Ember in the Ashes series. I adored An Ember in the Ashes so much in June, like one of my favorite books of all time now. It was everything I wanted in a book and more, that I had to keep reading the series. I will say, however, that none of them stood up to the first book for me. I don't know if I really liked the element of the gate per se. I don't want to say any more without spoiling anything for An Ember in the Ashes / A Torch Against the Night, but I just really didn't like that element. It didn't vibe well with me, and everyone is always talking about how great the main couple is, but I don't even know. I don't think that they had a very well developed relationship. However, I will throw in a disclaimer that I read these as audiobooks, and that may very well have done them an injustice, and I do plan to read them physically in the future. Take my word and review with a grain of salt, but I don't think I liked the final 3 as much as the first book. The first book had all of my favorite tropes, so it just had everything going for it. We had the element of trials and a person in disguise and a person who's morally gray and just everything going for it. So it was hands down one of my favorite books of the year. And yeah, I'll keep saying it, but it just didn't stand up to the first book. It was still a 4-star series for me though. Next, I read Daisy Jones and the Six as an audiobook. Everyone recommends the audiobook, which is why I did it that way. And it was really good. I think I gave it a 3.5 or 4 stars, and it was really interesting. I will say that realistic, fictional, that kind of vibe is not my favorite go-to genre. I'm much more on the I want to get out of this world and escapism side of things, so that's a little bit why it wasn't quite a 5-star for me. But the storyline was really good, and the twist at the end I did not see coming at all. If you aren't aware, Daisy Jones and the Six follows the female artist named Daisy Jones and her collaboration with a band called The Six, and it talks about, in the perspective of each of the bandmates going through interviews, their time in collaborating and then breaking up, and what happened, what's going on, all that good stuff. There are a ton of trigger warnings for this book, so make sure you do your research before going into it. Next, I read I Wish You All the Best by Mason Deaver, in which we are following a young non-binary person who has come out to their parents and experienced a really traumatic coming out with them and is now afraid to come out to anyone else. But they move in with their sister, and the sister has been very supportive of it all, and they're just going through that traumatic experience and learning to heal from it, and learning that not everyone is going to react that way when they come out as non-binary. They are also experiencing a crush on someone that they have perceived to be a straight male, so it's just dealing with that identity and sexuality and all of those things going on. There are heavy warnings for anxiety / depression, obviously traumatic coming out experiences, so on and so forth. So again, do your research before going into it. But I really love this book. It was so touching and heartwarming, and I didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I did. So I gave it, I believe, a 4.5 stars. Next, I read Kiss Quotient by Helen Hoang. This is a adult romance novel, the first of a trilogy, in which we are following a female named Stella, who is kind of more on the analytical, mathematician, accounting, that side of her brain sort of thing, and she is on the spectrum, and she has difficulties with like social interactions, which is common for people on the spectrum. So she hires an escort to train her how to interact with people socially and specifically in intimate situations. And of course they fall in love, yada yada, so on and so forth. Everyone raves about this book, and it was fun, but I personally didn't really like the relationship. I don't know if I really like the idea of the escort falling in love, but I guess I like Pretty Woman, so it's kind of like that. I don't know. Anyways, yeah, specifically the male's perception of the whole experience made me feel icky at times, so I just didn't really like it that much. So yeah, so I think I gave it 3 stars. It was still really fun, and I think it's worth reading, but I'm probably not going to reread it, and I am going to unhaul it. However, some adult romances totally worth reading, 5 stars across the board, were Take a Hint, Danny Brown, and Act Your Age, Eve Brown. This is the second and third books of the Brown Sisters trilogy, which is Get a Life, Chloe Brown is the first one. This is a series by Talia Hibbert, and Take a Hint, Danny Brown was hands down my favorite of the series. It's like friends to lovers, fake dating, chef's kiss. So good. And we are following a situation in which Danny got trapped in an elevator, so Zafir ends up saving her and carries her out like this, and the college students catch it on camera, and of course it goes viral. And Zafir has a company where he works with young boys on being like true to themselves, and it's okay to be emotional and that sort of thing, and it's really helping his business. So he collaborates with Danny in order to build that business and keep promoting that business, and it was just so good. I have noticed that my favorite books of these adult romance series feature an ex-sports player, so I think I might try some like sports, more like sports-centric adult romances. I'm specifically thinking of like the Undercover Bromance series, and I think Jasmine Guillory, I think that's how you say her name, I think she has a series as well, possibly, or maybe it's just, I'm thinking of The Proposal because it has a baseball on it, but I don't know if that's actually sports centric. But I do want to try out some sports themed books, and maybe that's the niche that I gravitate towards, or if it's just the fake dating. It could very well just be the fake dating. As far as Act Your Age, Eve Brown, in this we are following Eve Brown, who is the youngest Brown sister and has a bit of a maturity problem. So her parents kind of just cut her off, and she is forced to find a job and fend for herself. She ends up just running into a bed and breakfast and interviewing there. The owner of the bed and breakfast is on the spectrum and has very negative feelings towards Eve originally. I mean, in the interview, after the interview I should say, Eve hits him with her car, so I mean that would give anyone negative feelings. So it's enemies to lovers. It's so fun. It explores finding out if you're on the spectrum and like those qualities, so it was such a good read. I love Talia Hibbert's works. There's always so much great representation, so much great romance. Definitely pick the series up. Also, I just want to mention, if you like this series, I highly recommend the Modern Love trilogy by Alicia Rai as well, because it has very similar vibes, and I loved those books as well. Next, we'll get into the graphic novels. I read Swamp Thing by Maggie Stiefvater. This is probably one of my lowest ratings of the year. I just really did not understand. I mean, I understood the storyline. I just didn't really vibe with it that much, and then the ending was very unclear, and finally the artwork is not my preference. So much of a graphic novel, obviously, because it's graphic novel, is about the illustration for me when I go to rate it, and if the art's not there for me, then I typically don't get as into the story, so I ended up giving this one a 1 star. If you are interested in picking it up, it is a story in which there are twins, and one of them has an affiliation with plants, and he's working with plants. He's very scientific, and he's working with plants to try to come up with a cure or study the diabetes disease. And the other one is very cool, very like, I'm your bro, I'll be there for you, that kind of vibe. And they end up moving after they find out that their father was cheating on their mother, and they move out and are starting a new life somewhere, and our scientist twins plant gets run over or falls off the truck when they're moving and starts taking over the forest and that sort of thing. So that's kind of what's going on there. And then here is the like art style if you're interested. So I don't want to like fend people off from it if this is their art style, it's just not personally mine. Next, I read Heartstopper Volume 4. This I read on Webtoon. I have not picked up the actual physical copy yet. This one was a lot more intense and less romance than the others. It really delved more into the theming of like eating disorders than the romance side of things. So it was really interesting, and I love the way Alice Oseman handles those harder topics. And still, Nick and Charlie are absolute cinnamon rolls, and I just adore them. Finally, for graphic novels and manga, I picked up volumes 11 through 15 of The Promised Neverland. So here is what those look like. You guys, I will literally rave about this series for 20 minutes if you let me, so I'm just gonna shut up now before I get too started. But seriously, this is like the best manga series of all time to me, so please pick it up so that I can talk to someone about it. Next, I read We Hunt the Flame, and similar to An Ember in the Ashes, I feel I may have done it an injustice by reading it as an audiobook. However, I still definitely picked up that it was a 5-star read for me. And thus we are following Zephyra, who is a huntress. However, she disguises herself as a hunter because she lives in a society where it's not necessarily good to be a female doing things, or like literally anything. It's bad for females to do anything in this society. So she disguises herself as a hunter to go into the woods that no one else can venture into. Only Zephyra has this ability to go in and come out completely mentally sane, and she gets game for her people and keeps feeding them. And then we are also following Nasir, who is the prince but also an assassin, and has been tasked with assassinating the hunter because the hunter has proven to have magical abilities by being able to go into this forest, and magic is also not allowed. So we got Zephyra on a double whammy, female and magical. So yeah, it's really good. They go on a quest, they have magic, there's enemies to lovers, so fantastic. I will say I did see 2 of the like plot twists coming, and I love, like, that's not a negative reflection on the book at all. I love figuring things out. However, there was one plot twist I did not see at all coming, so that was also really fun. The plot twists were really well done in this book, and I'm currently reading We Free the Stars and also enjoying that. Next, I read Daughter of Sparta for my book club. This is a Daphne and Apollo retelling by Claire M. Andrews. In this, we are following Daphne, who is a female from Sparta, only she's not originally from Sparta, so she's more of an outcast. And in a competition to prove her family's worth, she runs into the goddess Artemis. Artemis basically threatens her to go on a quest to get back the 9 items that have been stolen from Olympus. And so, of course, because she's been threatened, Daphne goes on this quest, and she's accompanied by Apollo. I really enjoyed this because on the quest we're also discovering other mythological tales happening. So we go through like Minos and the Minotaur and Ariadne, And then we also discussed like the Sphinx and Griffins and the other gods and goddesses, and it was so fun. If you like Percy Jackson but you want something a little bit older, this is the book for you. It basically read as a YA Percy Jackson, and it was fantastic. Highly, highly recommend, especially if you like Greek mythology. Yeah. I also want to say I really did like that the female in this was powerful and tough, but she wasn't in that I'm not like other girls trope. If you want to see more or see my other reactions, I will link above my spoiler-free reading vlog of Daughter of Sparta, in which I also unboxed the Once Upon a Book Club book items that go with this. So that was a lot of fun. Go check it out up above. And my final and most favorite book of July was Furyborn by Claire Legrand. The Claires killed it for me this month. Clearly. Or should I say clearly? Okay. I'm done, I promise. Anyways, in this we are following two perspectives, and this is a world in which there is a prophecy that there will be a blood queen and a sun queen, and the blood queen will bring destruction to the world, whereas the sun queen will save the world, and we are trying to figure out which of the two perspectives is which queen, and it's really intense, really good. Yes, so fantastic. I don't even know how to like keep describing it, but I adored this book. Definitely one of the top 5 books of the year so far for me, and I need to pick up Kingsbane immediately. Also, there's trials in this, like elemental magic trials, so that may be why I'm a little bit biased towards this book. So those are all of the books I read in July. Let me know what you read in July, and I will check in with you guys in my next video. If you're interested in buying any of these books, I will link them down below. All of the links are affiliate links, so I do get compensation from them. However, it does not change the price for you at all. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will check in with you in my next one. Bye everyone!